like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. And I've been watching Doctor Who. I've been watching Doctor Who. I'm always watching freaking Doctor Who. There is nothing unusual about that. What Doctor Who am I watching? I am watching the fantabulous season 22 box set. I am adoring this. I have all of them, right? I have all these Blu-ray box sets. They're all fantastic. I think this is the best one. I think this is hands down the best one. Although I think it's a lot dependent on how old you were when you first saw this. So this is prime Doctor Who to me. I was, 15 or so when I watched this. It was, timed very much with my my adult awakening. So I am very, very, very nostalgic about this period. But this box set is fantastic. I'm going to have to go through it story by story. This is going to be a series of videos because otherwise it's going to be, 2 hours long going through the whole thing because there is so much to go through. I've only actually gone through the first 2 stories so far. I guess I'm going to start on Mark of the Rani tonight, God help me. Well, what can you do? You take the rough and the smooth. Gonna say, although, I have to tell you, the start with the foam trees that grabbed... was it Perry? I can't even remember. That would have worked much better now if you do a CGI tree like roots, like wrapping around the person. A lot of the CGI treatment, I would say, is quite warranted. Not on this story. The story we're talking about today, the first one, Attack of the Sidemen, going through this in order. One of the great things I love about these sets is you get to reevaluate them. Reevaluate the seasons in a more adult context. I'm like 50 now. I was 15 then, right? And it's really interesting the way you look at it. So season 24, for example, I was really not a fan of. I didn't want to buy it. In fact, I was like, really, I'm going to pay for season 24. And then I did, and I watched it, and I really totally reevaluated it. And I have a much better view of it now. So season 22, same thing has happened, but it's weird because I love it. I absolutely adore, and I do. I absolutely adore this season. But at the same time, it's not very good, right? I can see really where the problems are. Michael Grade is on Adventures on Varos disc. One of these wonderful Matthew Sweet interviews, and all his criticisms are 100% correct. But I went back and rewatched the second part of Attack of the Sidemen after watching his interview, and he is 100% on the money, right? 100% on the money about why they cancelled it. I can't disagree with them at all. Fine, before we get into this, like, share, and I want to be clear, I love this. I bought it. How many times have I bought it? I bought the Blu-ray. I bought the DVD. I bought the VHS. I absolutely adore this, and I think he was right to pull the trigger on it. But we're going to talk about that more in a second. Like, share, subscribe, comment, sign out to my Substack. What is a Substack? A Substack is, so you can say Substack. It's my email newsletter. I'm going to be banned at some point from YouTube. I really am. It's happening. It's coming. One of these days, sooner or later, I will be off. If you want to keep up with me, I'm on Rumble, but I put out the information about where I am, where you can find me on my email newsletter, and I give other stuff out as well. I put out classic comic strips. I put out, Warlord of the Ogrons from 1980 last weekend. On Fridays now, I think I'm going to send out a PDF of some of the out-of-print new adventure novels. A fantastic era that's been completely forgotten, breaking my heart. Right? It's like we're watching the trashing of Dalek Master Plan before our eyes. It is a great era. I wish Big Finish would just start doing those as books on tape. Right? I wish somebody would do them as books on tape. But so one of those are going out. I can put it out on Fridays. And yesterday I put out an old, again from 1980. Gallifreyan Guardian from Doctor Who magazine. It just added that in to the email. I like that stuff. I assume you might do too. If you don't, you don't. But it's free. Sign up for it. I always have a paid one. I put out more, even more content on that. Where's the other content? I'm putting out issues of my my comic book, Biblical Bible Stories, the 18th Creators, Rationalist Rogues. That's got going to have a couple of issues go on this month. And once you sign up for the paid one, you get all the back stuff as well. If you don't find it, get in contact. I'll send it to you. if you want to send me a couple of bucks, I'm not going to stop you, baby. Times are tough. Recession's coming. I am not going to stop you. And listen, these box sets aren't cheap, but so worth it. I absolutely mean it's so worth it. Comment, let me know what you think. YouTube likes you sharing. Fine. Let's talk about Attack of the Cybermen, right? Attack of the Cybermen Blu-ray. So, the reason I went back and watched part 2 after the Michael Grade interview, because he very, very correctly, I think, perceptively said that the use of violence, I mean, firstly, it said it was embarrassing tat, right? Basically, and all the way through the interview, he was like, look, just go look at it for yourself. If you can look at that and not cringe with embarrassment, I'm saying it's not worthy of the time or the money on screen, I challenge you to do that. And he's got a fair point. It is somewhat embarrassing tat. So how did it get, and again, I want to be clear, freaking love it, right? I absolutely love it. So how did it happen? And how is it embarrassing tat and also something that I love? So I would say it's the way that it's a perfect storm. It was a perfect storm of things. It was the way TV is made. Essentially, John Nathan Turner is a person who is the producer, who actualizes the TV series, right? Makes it happen, puts all the blocks together, and he was an absolute genius at that. And also, he was a great promoter. He was very, very, very good at doing promotion and raising the public awareness of the show. But in terms of the creative direction, he really left that up to his script editor, which was Eric Saywood. So Eric Saywood, I think, at this point was terrified, right? I really think he was scared. He really didn't know where to go, and somewhat desperate in what direction to go. And I don't think he really realized that himself at the time. He was very unhappy with Colin Baker's casting, and so yeah, he should have left. But the use of violence, I think, definitely is a sign of desperation, trying to cover up not knowing what to do, right? Literally not knowing what to do with a show that he really didn't want to be on. But he stayed on it. It was a job, right? It was a job. He was making money. He's a freelance writer. This one's going, yeah, this is going to work out. But you really do see it with this script, and the script is not good. The script is weird. The script is wonky in a lot of ways. They talk about it a lot on the making of Cold War, which is pretty good. Where there is an argument about who wrote Attack of the Cybermen. Was it Eric Saywood? Was it Paula Moore? Was it what's his name? Ian Levine. Now, I can see why Ian Levine thinks he gets a co-writer credit, but it doesn't seem that's the case at all, right? Ian Levine explained to Eric Saywood cyber history, told him about Tomb of the Sidemen, about 10th Planet, and these are all like starting points to write the story around. But the way this story works, it's an uncomfortable fusion of very old elements of Doctor Who. So you've got very old takes on Cybermen, right? You feel like these are 10th Planet Cybermen, the Tomb Cybermen. They got that kind of feel to it, that moon-based Cybermen, but they're done in the modern way with the modern suit, right? And so it's very, very jarring, right? I would say the lessons they learnt from Earthshock were probably the wrong ones. Earthshock was reasonably gritty, and I think that's as gritty as you can really go with Doctor Who, with it working. I think by the time you get to something like not Vengeance on Varos, Peter David's last story, Caves of Androzani, I think that's probably gone too far, right? But that was the 80s, right? You got to understand, the 80s was, mid-80s was a time of excess. We had a lot of money. We went from like this massive recession, with unions having broken the back of the country, as it were. And then you had Margaret Thatcher go on this long war with the unions, essentially, and winning, right? And right by the mid-80s, we were seeing the fruition of the Thatcherism, Thatcher's economic plan, and we all had a ton of money. There was a ton of money coming out in the 80s, right? And with money comes excess, right? And you see that throughout the entirety of this Doctor Who, and also of culture in general. But Doctor Who is such a great way of evaluating culture at the time, because it's so always on the cutting edge. I think the Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who really talks about what the world is like today, which is not very good, right? I mean, in my opinion, if you like it, God bless you. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I think it's awful. But I think this is awful, but I am a massive fan of it. So you got all this like gritty, violent excesses. Then you got this super violence, which doesn't fit into Doctor Who in my mind. I think it really is incongruous. At the same time, sitting uncomfortably with again these very, very traditional elements of Doctor Who, these very, very traditionalist thoughts on Cybermen, right? So it doesn't really work. The things that actually do work is the stuff that Eric Saywood is most interested in, which is the contemporary crime drama, which is really how Doctor Who would have been successful at the time. How would you make Doctor Who successful? Well, TV at the time was very naturalistic, right? What was big? Minder, Only Fools and Horses, things that people very much recognized. And I think Colin Baker's coat was not really helpful. Actually, I want to take a step back. His coat was fine. His waistcoat, his vest was fine. It was the trousers that were too much, right? His trousers were absolutely too much, and it was just, overpowering, and it just pulled you out of reality. The way 1980s drama worked is you've got to be very much in reality before you go off into a different, direction. So, it did look embarrassing. It really did. In the contemporary landscape, it did absolutely look embarrassing. Why Ian Levine would want to claim ownership on this script is is a bit strange, right? Because it's not very good. It really isn't very good. And I want to be clear, I absolutely love it, right? But the only thing I think really works is the characterization of Lytton and Griffiths. I kind of like Terry Malloy as Russell in it. The whole Stratton and Bates thing set on Tellus, again, it was too gritty, too dark. I think too dark. Something to be said, in its favor though, is the model work. Absolutely stunning, right? You have the cyber control and the time ship in the background, matted into the location footage. That looks stunning. That looks absolutely stunning. And the direction in general is, what was it, by Matthew, what's his name? I'm looking up right now. Matthew Robinson, who did, is it Revelation? Not Remembrance. One of the Dalek story, Resurrection of Daleks, which again slightly too gritty, slightly too mean. And again the excess of the violence. We have Lytton captured and tortured, his hands like squeezed, and but all that blood put on it. And especially it was actually the next shot when he's laying on the floor and there's all these like really quite a very realistic blood stains all over the floor, which I just found unnecessary. There's a lot of stuff that's unnecessary. The cyber controller, played by Michael, was it Kilgriff? Pointless. It was really quite pointless. What does shine out through this is Colin Baker's performance. Colin Baker loving being in the show, and you said at the beginning of the Sixth Doctor and Perry relationship, and the even though it was very fractious on screen, you can see the close relationship that Colin and Nicola has, and that really comes through, right? That really comes through. Although I don't really notice much because I'm staring at Nicola squeezed into pink spandex. Good for her. Thank you for that, John Nathan Turner. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting story. This, where of like much like the John Nathan Turner era in general, of within the same story, great successes and great failures fused together. But I do absolutely understand why it was cancelled. So what else is on this disc? You also got Matthew Sweet in conversation with Colin Baker. This goes on for a long time. This is like over an hour and 20 minutes. It takes about an hour to get to Doctor Who. I found it a little bit boring. Quite frankly, you do really get into Colin Baker's personality and you see his vulnerability. And again, Matthew Sweet is such a great interviewer. He really is absolutely fantastic. And you get an idea of the character, and you really, again, you see his vulnerability, you see his sweetness, right? which is which is very nice. But and you really find out a lot about his history, and you understand why he has the worldview he does. Look, listen, a great interview for me. Of the three in the set, this is by far the weakest, right? They do a clever thing, though. He does a very, very clever thing, though. Before talking about the firing, which isn't really a major aspect of the interview at all, because it's really been gone over many times before. He talks about just before he started the role, the tragic cot death of their child. And they do that to put it in the context of the firing. Really, to you understand, you have big things and you have small things in life, right? Matthew Sweet, really, he is such a pivotal talent in the Doctor Who world and in these discs in general. So what else we got behind the sofa? You have who's in behind the sofa? Do we have the? Oh, hang on a second. I'll look over here. It is in the. Look at this book that comes in with it. It's just I'm a graphic designer portrayed, and like the work that went in this Photoshop is very good, right? This is a very, very strong bit of Photoshop, if you don't want to say. So behind the sofa, you got Colin Baker is with Terry Malloy and Nicola Bryant, right? So they quite like it, right? They're all like quite positive. You've got Peter Davison, Janet Fielding, and Sarah Sutton, always a good combination. They take the piss quite a lot. And you got Sylvester McCoy and Wendy Pabrin. They're like, this is really dark and violent. This is really nasty, right? Going through it. But I do like Behind the Sofa. I think that's a great staple of these sets. Again, I can't recommend this set strong enough. You got the making of, which is called Cold War, which again, lots of what's the word? Archive footage, because a lot of people are brown bread now. Matthew Robertson. And also, no, that was it. There's another documentary called Cyber Story, which is basically an overview of Cybermen. That's pulled it over from the original DVD release. And they do pull out archive interviews from the Cybermen years tapes, which was something they brought out in something that John Nathan Turner did after Doctor Who was cancelled. He was very good at coming up with these special theme tapes that BBC Enterprise put out, where they could put out like but he only had like one or two episodes of a black and white serial. They put it together with interviews and linking footage. They were great. I used to love those tapes. Right, those years tapes, fantastic. Again, John Nathan Turner. I think generally speaking, a force for good. If only he had moved on. Right, if only he had moved on. Because as Michael Gray says in the next story, it looked well past its sell by date. And again, sadly, he was really, really right. We have a clip from Saturday Superstore. That's quite long, the Saturday Superstore clip. It's about 15 minutes. Quite a lot of it is promoting their panto. And then the second half where they're answering questions, which I find just delightful. I love it when you have the phone-in questions. They bring JNT on for a little bit. The ever-present JNT, right? The ever-present JNT. You got the trails, you got the continuity, you have breakfast time clip, you have Human Cyborg, which is I watched that and I can't even remember now, which shows you what that it didn't make a massive impression on me. Let me have a look. Cybersaur is looking back. Human Cyborg it was some sciencey thing, as I recall. Professor Cybernetics interviewed in 2008. Right, there was that. And the Cyber Generations. What was the Cyber Generations? We had Cyber Story, and I don't know, man. There's just honestly that I'm trying to look up what is on this thing. Shows you how packed it is, which is why I'm 20 minutes in, right? 20 minutes, which is why I'm making this into a series of 6 videos instead of doing it as one. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic, really fascinating. I didn't even get into the commentary, the making of the the PDF material. There is just so much on this. For me, this is so worth the money, right? So worth the money. Join me on the next video when I will be going over the interesting story that is Vengeance on Varos, which has a great. That's the other thing on this disc. I love the little trailers they put on for that they use for the DVDs. The Vengeance on Varos. That's coming up next. My name is Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.